Welcome to the Knowing Jesus podcast. I'm Pastor Paul.
I'm Pastor Alice.
I'm Pastor Michelle.
And I'm Pastor John.
And we are having a great day here. We've got a couple announcements I want to start off with because we have been successfully handing out Red Letter Challenge books. So, Pastor Alice.
Yeah, I love it. Yay.
Will you just share what people need to know about Red Letter Challenge?
Yeah, so we have our Red Letter Challenge books where we have like 30 books left out of 500. So we're just so excited that the congregation is excited about this. And I just think it's going to be powerful that we're all reading the same passage every day and the same devotion. And then we have this invitation independently then to go deeper with Jesus. And so we're just going to be for 40 days focusing on what Jesus said in Scripture. And I think it's going to be life-giving and just, really powerful. So I'm excited to see how it's going to work.
Yeah, it starts February 16th, right? So make sure you get your books by then. And we've got books for adults and for kids. And so make sure you grab those.
Yeah, and
Can
make
we
sure
get
you.
more,
Yeah,
Alice?
we can get more. And make sure you check your email because Pastor Michelle and myself and Sarah Bartlett, who's in charge of our FaithLife groups, recorded a video to talk about how you can join in small groups, start a new small group, and even come to lunch and learns. We really want to just immerse ourselves in this during Lent.
Yeah,
So.
It's going to be great. We're so excited that Zach Zender, the author of the Red Letter Challenge, will join us in March as well. And so we'll have him on the podcast. That'll be a fun
will be
one.
fun.
Yeah, and we also, the Knowing Jesus series continues. We tailored
Yes.
the sermons to go along with what we're reading here.
Yep.
So
Yeah, we liked it because if you want to know Jesus, read his words,
Absolutely.
what he said. So
Yep.
it's good. And just to clarify something from this last Sunday, I am not going to be hairstyling the ladies' hair.
I have a hair tie with me. Are you sure?
No, I'm pretty sure. You don't want that. So I said in the message that we need people for Night to Shine. And so we need buddies. That's the biggest thing. So go to our webpage, check out Night to Shine. Great event. We need buddies for our participants. And we also need some hairstylists. So
I thought that would make our ratings go up.
It could.
oh, yeah, that's...
We could always do your hair, some barrettes and
Yeah.
ponytails and...
Don't they eventually just put a big X over the podcast so you can't watch it?
In theory, yeah.
It's just illegal. I don't know. Trust me, you don't
Well,
want me...
don't take it there. I think
You
it
don't,
would.
you don't want me to doing your hair. And then apparently this last Sunday I can't dress either. So the people who are doing live stream, I apologize if you've only ever seen us on live stream. And I'm pretty sure Joel, our producer here, has told me this before. But you're not supposed to wear striped shirts like this. And I thought, oh man, I'm going to wear this today. And on live stream, it looks like... I don't know. It
looks like you're wearing TV static.
That's exactly right.
I thought it was a 70s Afghan.
Yeah, 70s Afghan.
Maybe you need to start texting us a picture of what you
Right,
think you're
yeah.
going to wear, and then we'll just
Tell you no.
Yeah.
So somebody in the live stream also texted my wife and said, "Please dress him
Please,
better."
Ellie, help us out.
So you don't want me
funny.
doing your styling your hair. That's the moral of the story.
Or picking out our shirt.
Let me just stick with the word
You
of
are
God.
a boy dad.
Yeah, right. I am a boy dad. That is true. Oh my goodness. Well, we continue to talk about Jesus and being fully capable. We'll do this until we hit Lent and get in the Red Letter Challenge. And today we're talking about how he's trustworthy. And it might seem obvious, right, for us to trust Jesus but in everyday practical application, I wonder how often we actually trust him. I mean, I'm thinking about some of the basic stuff. Like I get in the car and I drive to work. Am I trusting him in that moment? I wake up in the morning and I'm drinking coffee. Am I trusting him in that moment? They're little things, but before we get into our scripture today, because it's really all about trust, let me start with this basic but very difficult question. Why is it hard to trust Jesus sometimes?
Because he doesn't answer as fast as I want him to. I'm impatient.
Yeah.
Now's good for me, God.
We know this about you.
Yeah, I know.
I like to be a problem solver. So, maybe I can problem solve maybe faster than I think God can.
Oh, boy.
It's not terrible.
Let me lean over so lightning almost strikes you. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Well, and I think in our kind of our human state, sometimes if we're not seeing something happen, right? I think you said in your sermon, like, is this really happening? Is this really you, Jesus, right? We try to explain things, but I think the enemy, this is how the enemy works, by getting us to not trust.
Yeah.
Right, and trying to make us doubt, right? And so I think it's that constant battle of drawing closer to Jesus and remembering, even when it doesn't seem like it, we can trust him.
Yeah, I didn't talk about this a lot in the message, but the waves, right? We talk about the waves and the wind. We can really talk about those as the distractions of life and what we're always thinking about. I think it's hard to trust Jesus because we're often not thinking about Jesus.
Yeah.
So
In our own head.
yeah, the spiritual disciplines, we've been talking about those on and off. Spiritual disciplines help us to focus ourselves on Jesus and therefore hopefully to trust him a little bit more. So I feel like a lot of it's just distraction for me. There's so many other things.
Yeah.
And I think distractions is something specific to being in our culture, Americans
Yes.
too, because you see in other places in the world that they don't let distractions be such a barrier like we do.
Right. When your phone is always on, always around, always dinging, things like that. So
Easy there. I don't have anything nice to say today about getting too many text messages here.
Oh, you triggered him here.
oh boy.
We better move on.
So that's a question to ask if you're doing this yourself, or if you're in a small group. I really would love for you to ask. And just get honest about why it's hard to trust Jesus. There's no wrong answer. I think we all have our different struggles with trusting him. And here's the good news. You're not any different than any other disciple who's ever followed Jesus.
So
right?
true.
Even the ones who had him face to face in the flesh, walking on water.
Yeah.
I've said
Or
that a lot.
psalmists or prophets,
Right.
we're all.
Yeah, I've said that to people a lot, and even myself. If the disciples who were right there seeing the miracles happen still had doubts, how am I ever supposed to not have them myself? And like giving myself grace to realize that's normal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Part of the journey.
Well, those are all great responses. Let's dive in the text for today. We're looking at Matthew 14, verses 22 to 26. Excuse me, 22 to 36.
I corrected that typo.
Thank you. Yeah. Usually we divide this up, but honestly, I just want to take it as a whole. So, Pastor John, can you read it for us? Matthew 14, 22 to 36.
I would be happy to.
In your radio voice.
Story time with Pastor John.
The face not for TV. There we go.
Wow. That's a Pastor Johnism right there.
Right.
We can't even get to the
And
text
that's a
today.
John Basinski vocabulary word.
And you said it, we didn't.
I
so.
did. Beginning with verse 22. Immediately, he made the disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowds. And after he had dismissed the crowds, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone, but the boat by this time was a long way from the land, beaten by the waves, for the wind was against them. And in the fourth watch of the night he came to them, walking on the sea. But when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified and said, "It is a ghost!" And they cried out in fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Take heart, it is I, do not be afraid." And Peter answered him, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." He said, "Come." So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink. He cried out, "Lord, save me." Jesus immediately reached out his hand and took hold of him, saying to him, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased, and those in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." And when they had crossed over, they came to land at Gennesaret. And when the men of that place recognized him, they sent around to all that region and brought to him all who were sick, and implored him that they might only touch the fringe of his garment. And as many as touched it were made well.
That's great, John. Thanks. We didn't talk about that last part. I just love that last sentence. You know, it reminds you of the woman that just touches the hem of his robe.
The 12-year bleeding.
Yeah. And so just to touch his robe, people are healed. That's pretty powerful. Okay, so let's jump back to the beginning of this text. Jesus sends his disciples ahead of him. What's Jesus doing? What's he interested in doing at the beginning of this text? And what does that teach us as his disciples?
He wants to get away by himself and pray and talk to his Father.
Yeah. Why is that important?
Well, I think we all need to keep going back to the Father, whether that's to replenish us after we've done hard work in His name, or if we're about ready to do something in His name. When I meet with people for care visits, I always pray first, like, God, tell me what I'm supposed to say in your name to help people, right? And then after a visit, I need to also pray for His help as well. So,
But do you think Jesus, in his humanness, was tired of people? And
I'm sure.
including his disciples. I need some quiet time with God.
Yeah. You guys go over there.
Yeah.
And he had just fed the 5,000 right before this is what happened. And so, he had just had that conversation with them. You feed them, and
Right.
so
Think of how exhausted we are after we preach on a Sunday.
yes,
Right.
Right? Like,
Absolutely.
how exhausting would it be to create enough bread and fish for 5,000 people?
Yeah.
And the whole reason you get to that story is because actually Jesus is trying to get away with his disciples. So, you wonder on some level if the intent was Jesus was going to spend some time with his disciples, spend some time in prayer. Time gets away from him, feeds 5,000, and then he tells them, "You guys, I'm going to take care of the crowd." That's what he says.
Yes.
Scripture says,
Yes.
"I'll take care of the crowd, dismiss them away." So, final. You guys always tell me to go do the benedicting.
Benedicting is a verb.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So Jesus does the benedicting. He sends his disciples on ahead. And so that leads me into the next question, just because I just think this is fascinating, right? So how is Jesus planning on getting back to his disciples? And I've got a bunch of questions here. Why did he send them ahead in the first place? Did he know they would struggle on the boat? Was he always planning to walk on water? Had he done this before? What questions come to your mind when you're first beginning to read this text?
I think Jesus had another boat ready for him to go after his disciples. So I think he was sending his disciples because he knew they were exhausted because they just came back from doing all the miracles, when he sent them out on their mission. And then they sat through the feeding of the 5,000s and collected all the bread. They were tired. So I think he was sending them away to go over wherever they were heading next. And letting them get some peace while he dismissed the crowd, like you said. And then I think he had another fisherman that was in the crowd that said, "Hey, I'll give you a lift over to the other side of the lake."
That's not a bad theory.
It's not a bad theory. I cannot imagine Matthew, even in his OCD-ness, understanding Jesus' mind, though. So he didn't write about it because we don't know.
Sure.
It's kind of one of those things, as soon as you ask one question, it gives you 10 more. And
Oh,
as soon
my
as you
goodness,
start
yes.
to theorize, you're like, oh, that could totally be it. It could also be this, right? Like,
Right.
just one of those things, if only we knew behind the scenes. Yeah.
Or did he mean to do it to show the power over the wind and the waves?
Yeah. The question
Which shows that he's God.
Yeah.
Because
Amen.
only God has power
Correct.
over the
Wind.
wind and the waves.
another teaching moment for the disciples, certainly, things like this.
They need a lot of vowels bought.
Yes.
Maybe he
Yeah.
was hoping they'd get it and he wouldn't have to do anything. But then he was like, oh, again,
Right.
now
Right,
I'm going to have to
exactly.
walk on the water over there to take
Right.
care of him again. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story. I'm trying to think of where we see that elsewhere in Scripture where Jesus sends his disciples in front of him. Now, if you relate it back to the last chapter, Jesus had just sent his disciples out,
Yeah.
to go do miracles, and they had come back, heard that John the Baptist had been beheaded, feed the 5,000. Now here we are, and so maybe Jesus is still in that mode of sending his disciples out
Yeah.
ahead of him. It could be as simple as that.
Could be.
But what I find interesting for sure is the amount of time that Jesus spends on the mountainside. It says he doesn't get to the disciples until right before sunrise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody raised their hand when you asked how many people prayed that long. I wasn't one.
Right? No. I don't think anybody raised their hand. So it's just interesting that this is a long period, right? That one simple line tells us that we went from the evening of the meal
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
all the way to the morning of the next day.
Kind of shows us how much time Jesus needed to just regroup and refresh
Yeah.
with the Father to be able to continue on with his work. I think
Yeah.
kind of it
Absolutely.
shows how human he was, because when you do read what was before this in the Bible, I mean, it was a lot of heavy stuff going on, right? And
Yep.
so he needed that time from evening to dawn to be
Yeah.
with God, to be ready to go on with his mission.
Yep.
And it's a great reminder to us to take our time, not
Right.
be rushed, right? It's going to take time to really, talk with God and unload those things.
I just did a little math in my head. If the disciples been rowing for 9 hours, how the heck did they not get across the lake? Because the wind was really against them.
Yeah.
I'm thinking they
hard.
should have been across in 4 or 5 at the most.
Right.
It's not that wide,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they didn't make it yet.
It was a big storm, John.
Big storm. All right.
Definitely was a problem. Just on a side note, because I think the Gospels are always relating Jesus a little bit to Moses and Elijah. When I think about Elijah, his greatest miracle was calling down the fire on the altar. And then what does he do after that? He runs ahead
He runs.
of a chariot, right?
Yeah.
So these are very similar, in my opinion. Jesus does his greatest miracle, which is the feeding of the 5,000. And while he's not running as fast as Elijah, he is certainly it's the traveling that he does that's the miracle. Elijah just happens to run fast. Jesus walks on water. I just a
That
similar
forward motion
that-
of
yeah,
going. Yeah.
there's just a similarness there, if you ask me. So
This is the story where Elijah soaks his cow and soaks the ground and
soaks it
then
all
calls,
up, right? And
God
the
calls
fire
down.
from God licks it all up. He kills all the prophets, and then I think it's Ahab is there, and he rides back on his chariot to go tell his wife Jezebel.
Yes.
right, because
And they're gonna
it's
get him.
bad news.
Yeah.
and Elijah literally outruns
Yeah.
his chariot. That is it's beast mode.
Reed
fast.
runs for his life.
That is talk about the Olympics right
star.
there. Yeah. Forget Usain Bolt. It's Elijah.
He's the
all
one to
right.
beat.
All right.
Meanwhile, back in the New
Yeah,
Testament.
back in the New Testament. So as the story goes, Jesus begins to walk on water. The disciples see him, but they don't recognize him. Instead, they cry out, "It's a phantasma." Literally, estin phantasma. That's the Greek, which means it's a ghost. It's a phantom. It's an apparition, specter, spirit, goblin, ghoul. Maybe not those things.
I don't
But-
think those last few.
Yeah, right. Are ghosts real?
I have a funny story with this. It doesn't really answer the question, but a memorable moment from a children's message on Christmas Eve one year, where we had the kids up front, and I asked the question, what might we have, seen if we were at the manger? What might we have heard? And this one little boy stands up and he was like, "Ooh, spooky ghost." I'm like, how am I going to recover from this? And I was like, oh, the Holy Ghost might have been there, and I just kept moving.
Wait a second. He confused Halloween with Christmas?
Christmas.
Okay. All right. Well,
I was just like, ghost, Christmas, Holy Spirit. Let's move forward. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that doesn't really answer the question, but it's a funny ministry story.
Well, it does answer, because I think the question is, are ghosts real? And if we say no, then we've got a real problem, because we have the Holy Ghost.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That's a problem. But I think we mean something a little bit
Yep.
different than
Well, I think there are unholy
Like
ghosts
Ghostbusters.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Oh,
I think there are unholy
Yeah.
ghosts too.
Yeah,
I think
for
there
sure.
are spirits and
Spiritual,
demons that we're preaching on here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean,
Spiritual warfare is a real
the
thing.
Bible talks about.
It
Yep.
does.
Yes. Yeah. So,
Paul wasn't able to go into, where was it again? Because there was
into Europe.
Europe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Spirits. Yep.
Spirits keeping him back.
Yeah.
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 Yep. Yeah, and Paul says our battle is not against flesh
Flesh
and blood,
but
against the powers, right? So
Yeah.
there are ghosts. I always encourage Christians not to freak out about that idea. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen a ghost. I feel like I've seen angels. I don't know about ghosts, but I've had people talk to me about how they feel like they've seen ghosts, and so
I think one thing to remember is the power of Jesus trumps any type
Amen.
of evil spirit
Correct.
or evil that you could think of. That there's
There's power in his name.
there's power in his name.
Yeah.
And I think a few people have had the ability to feel the presence of maybe someone that they have lost, or of Jesus himself, the Holy Spirit, right there, and it's markable difference than they've ever had before.
Yeah.
Right.
And that
Correct.
and we can't say they did or didn't, because that's about them. And
It could be a whole nother podcast, though,
Yep.
on spiritual warfare,
oh, for sure.
spirits, demons, angels, things
I'll
like
add
that.
that to our list.
So, yeah, I think we do have demons and angels
Those
on
we
there
do have
already.
a- yes,
so we'll have
yeah.
to.
Yeah.
We'll have to add ghosts. I ain't afraid of no ghost.
I grew up in the 80s, so all of those movies of that
yeah,
time
right.
frame, I was a
Right.
scaredy cat
Yeah.
child.
Oh,
that was
yeah.
for sure.
We could do that and then all wear
Right.
Ghostbuster outfits.
Right? Yeah.
You can get on that, Joel. We'll be ready for that.
Joel's too young to remember those movies.
No, I bet he knows Ghostbusters.
No, I don't.
Oh, yeah, he knows
I don't know.
Ghostbusters. I have a
know if
second
everybody
ghost
heard of
talking
it.
to us right now.
He's like,
I was thinking.
About it in Stranger Things.
I was talking about the scary ones, not Ghostbusters.
yeah.
Ghostbusters
Yeah, I like the
was a
old
oh
comedy.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, those
You're talking about
man.
yeah.
Don't like those.
Those were scary.
Those were scary.
Well, before we get into that, and totally derail here.
Yeah.
Well, you asked the question.
I know that.
It's all on you, Paul.
These are all my questions, so this is why. I think water stories are the scariest. Okay, I mean, look. People talk to me all. They say I'm so scared of flying. No. I'm scared of being on the water. Have any of you ever been terrified on a boat? Do you have any boat stories or water stories?
Just terrified in the swimming pool.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
All the country kids have to come in at 9 a.m. when the water's still cold as heck and do swimming lessons. And at that stage, I was poorly insulated and just froze the whole time. So, I mean,
Poorly insulated.
and I swam like a rock. I was always going under.
Yeah, that's totally like Theo right now. Poor
Yeah.
kid, he has no fat. And
Yeah.
it's just, yeah.
You can't float with no fat.
I remember jumping in the deep end once when I was a little kid and thought I was going to drown.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, you were lucky, a farm kid that got to go to swim lessons. I did not.
Wow.
Did you get to go to the dentist, Michelle?
All right, I have a water story. I'm going to bring this back.
Yes.
It's a red X.
Yes, I did.
goodness.
And he was a mean dentist.
This is
Your
going
farm
so
Mine too.
stories.
Yeah,
You
mine too.
guys.
Do you want to hear my water story,
Yes,
Paul?
please, Alice.
Well, I was a big swimmer, and growing up in high school, like I loved the water, wasn't afraid of it, really enjoyed it. But I remember when we took a trip with our good friends to Hawaii, and we took surf lessons.
Oh.
And I thought, this is going to be fun. I'm not afraid of the water. This is going to be great. Well, I am blind without my glasses. So, we get a lesson on the shore, we go out, we start coming, and the wave changes or whatever. All of us crash out. When I come out of the water, I can't see anything. I can't see where the shore is. I can't see where anybody else is because I don't have my glasses.
Yep.
And I remember that feeling of panic, and I couldn't catch my breath. I was trying to find my board. So I swam to shore and gave up surfing. So there's my
for you.
story. I was like, I don't got time for this.
That's wise.
Yeah, I love the ocean. I just want to be able to touch.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. To this day, Ellie and I have sworn off any whitewater rafting for our boys.
Oh.
They
I
shall
love
never.
whitewater
They shall
rafting.
never whitewater raft.
I thought that was a story you were going to tell today.
No. They shall never go up to Homer, Alaska, and go out. They let's see what else.
The
Wait,
whitewater
okay.
rafting story is my son on a Boy Scout trip fell out of the boat
Oh,
with his
yeah.
life jacket.
Yeah.
He held onto his glasses, he held onto his oar, and then when we got back, we bought the T-shirt that reads upside down, "If you can read this, pull me back into the boat."
That's pretty good.
I've been whitewater rafting twice and loved it.
Oh, I did too.
It
I
was
loved
great.
it.
Yeah.
Sorry you had a bad experience,
Yeah.
Pastor
Well,
Paul. That's another podcast,
I've been
right?
twice. Once was great. The other one was not so much. Okay. So we got ghost story.
Mm-hmm.
We've got water stories. We've got Jesus praying. And I think most of the time when we read this text, in fact, most of the sermons I've ever heard on this text focus on Peter walking on water. And that's not bad. I think that's good. I think there's a lot to say about that. However, you put it in the context of the Gospels. The disciples usually are knuckleheads. And this is an example of Peter being a knucklehead, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he's not faithful walking out of the boat. I mean, he gets out in the water and then he starts to drown, right? It is not a gold. He doesn't get a gold star, right? So again, we can make it about Peter, but I really think if you look at the conversation that Jesus has, the words of Jesus with the disciples, there's really there's an interesting layout. And so I know you can't see this if you're just listening to the podcast online, and I don't have anything to show on a slide, but I want to go through what I call kind of the 9 steps or the 9 parts to what happens in this story, okay? So when you look at just what people say. So the first one is this: as we go through the story, the first things that happen are the disciples cry out in fear, right? That's number one. Now keep that in mind, because the last part of the story is going to be the disciples saying something completely different. Right? So step one is disciples cry out in fear. It's a ghost. Then you have this kind of steps 2 through 5, which is Jesus and Peter going back and forth. Step 2 is Jesus says, no, take courage, it's I. Don't be afraid. That classic phrase, the great command right there that we hear so often. Peter questions. This is what's amazing. Peter doesn't say, that sounds great, I'm going to take courage and step out of the boat. He says, actually,
Are you sure?
if it's really you, right? If it's really you, this is a little bit like Thomas. Until I see his hands and his side, right? Tell me, and then of course, Peter, I mentioned this in the message, still, tell me to come to you on the water. What kind of idea is that, right?
Still a
Sound like a
knucklehead.
bad one.
Still a bad idea, right? So that's step 3. Peter questions. Step 4 is Jesus empowers. All he says is come. It's an imperative verb. He's like, yep, I'm going to make you do it, right? And the step 5, Peter second guesses, and then he cries out, Lord, save me. In step 6, Jesus catches Peter. There's no words. It's just Jesus catching him. And it literally says Jesus caught. Jesus says then in step 7, he says, Peter, why do you have such lack of faith? You have little faith. Why did you doubt? The word there is, I think it's dispardo. I think that's what it is. But it's the dis that's interesting, because you can use a different word for doubt in the Greek. But the dis tells you it's the number 2 in Greek. So it's like, why are you second guessing? Why are you double thinking this? Right? So pick Jesus, step 8, Jesus gets Peter to safety. They climb to the boat, the wind dies down. And then the last step, 9, the disciples worship Jesus. They prostrate themselves, and their words are, truly you are the Son of God, right? So it goes from, it's a ghost, to you're the Son of God, which is really powerful. What part of all those things I brought up speaks to you?
Well, in your message, what really kind of stuck out to me, which is kind of part of this, but it's I'm a little off script here, is you talked about the courage it takes to be a disciple of Jesus.
Yeah.
And so in every one of these steps, it's the courage that we get from Jesus. It's not necessarily something that wells up because of our being. It's because we know that we worship the true Son of God, that we can have courage when we question or when we make like dumb things like getting out of the boat. Like we can have courage that Jesus is there with an outstretched arm like you had. So, and I think that's something that really resonated with me, that we have to remember, especially, today in these times that we live in, that we need to have courage as disciples, but it doesn't come from us.
Correct. Right. Yeah.
And so
That's great.
that really resonated with me today, and kind of relates to what you just asked.
Especially with all the self-help, self-focus. I could do it if I just put my mind to it. This text is very different. Jesus says, take courage, which is, again, the emphasis is what he's giving them, and they are passive in that. So here, you guys have this courage that I'm giving you. Yeah.
And yet, throughout the Bible, every time somebody says, be bold and courageous, don't be afraid. Right. Oh, yeah, we're afraid because it's God talking to us, and we have no experience with that. And I think the be not afraid or don't be afraid, you just as well be talking to a wall, because we're not getting it. We're afraid. And our little lizard brain is trying to flight.
But I think we should start backwards in this list. We need to start with worship first.
Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh,
That's
all
good.
right. All right.
Yeah.
That's good.
The thing that this image that came to mind as we were kind of reading through this just now is I remember back to like teaching our kids how to ride their bike.
Yeah.
Right. And it was kind of like this, like we've prepared them, we've showed them how to do it, we've given them the tools they need. They just need to rest on what we've said, rest on the practice, trust, right? But yet they're afraid. We encourage them. They're going to question, well, I just fell. You didn't teach me right. Right. Yes, you can do this. You sometimes fall. You got to get back up. It was just kind of, I don't know why that was the image that popped in. Like how often do we have things like this in our life? And remembering if we just go back, like you said, to starting with the end here, worshiping and praying and trusting that we don't have to be afraid.
That's a great example, Alice.
Well, thank you, John.
Yeah, I like it. I love the part, you have little faith, why did you doubt? And I think the reason I really enjoyed studying this this time around because of the word that's used for doubt. I didn't realize this. This is really why were you double-minded? Why did you have a second guess? And I think I've read this as a scolding of Jesus. Now, the painting, of course, right, helps out, right?
Yep.
Jesus
he's
is smiling.
Smiling, I love that.
So I can't say that that's biblical, but I do wonder if Jesus is almost saying, you are so close.
You're almost there.
You just stay the course. Don't look away. Don't second guess yourself here, right? Like my spirit is leading you. And you have little faith. Why did you second guess? And I look at it now more as an almost invitational of Jesus because again, when you read it, the very next sentence is they climbed into the boat and the wind died down. Jesus doesn't say hush. He doesn't do anything. And so you don't hear Jesus pounding Peter and saying, really, come on, man, you're all wet, you're sopping. If I wasn't around, you would have been drowned, and you're the fisherman, right? You should know, but you don't hear any of this stuff. And instead, when Peter and Jesus are in the boat together, that's where safety is. And I don't know. I guess I used to think that Jesus was kind of being a little pedantic to Peter, but now I don't think that anymore. I think that Jesus is probably proud of him.
Other than when he opens with, if it is you, I'm going,
Yeah.
okay.
Right. How many times, Peter, do I have to show to you?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's really me. And yet you're going to deny me 3 times. So, I think when Peter and Jesus get in the boat together, that must have been such a moment for the disciples because everything gets calm. And you know how it is. You've been sloshed around the waves and everything, and you finally turn off the motor of life, and it's. I wonder if it became placid.
Yeah, the safety and peace they must have felt in that moment.
And then if I were to be a filmmaker, that's when the sun would come up because it's early
And now it's morning.
And now it's morning. I mean, this is beautiful,
Some
right?
great music playing in the background.
Yeah, exactly.
And the wind changes and they blow all the way in without...
That's right, And the fish are jumping by them, and the dolphins are singing, and
The dolphins of the
mermaids
Sea of
pop out.
Galilee.
mermaids pop out of the ocean. Oh,
I think
wait a
we're
second.
talking about a Disney movie.
Disney.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! All right,
I'm sure it was
else?
beautiful, though, but maybe not all.
Yeah,
That.
when you were
else?
talking about walking on the frozen pond,
Yeah.
my granddaughter was talking about Frozen, and I'm thinking, okay. It was Elsa.
Right,
Did you tell her to let it go?
Yeah, no, I didn't tell her to let it go. Oh, jeez.
Oh my
That was good,
very
everybody. I deserve some clapping for that,
was-
Joel.
Oh, boy.
That was pretty good. That
But
was
please
pretty
do not
clever.
walk on the pond.
Please,
Yeah, don't walk on the
There were
pond.
some people out there during modern service at little
Were
kids.
there?
Yeah, so you got to be careful. 'Cause
Sorry, I was here yesterday, and people were skating out there. Actually, a guy was teaching his son hockey.
Nice.
So,
It's cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing here. I intentionally made the focus of the message this Sunday about Jesus, how he saves us. We see him save his disciples in the text. My question for us is, how does he continue to save us today? Obviously, and what I mean by that is he saved us on the cross, right? And we know this. This is the ultimate salvation moment. But I feel like he continues to save us every day. He's not dying on the cross over and over and over.
No.
We're not saying that. I'm just saying there are just things everywhere.
I believe he saves us to do his work here. I believe that I might have used up a couple of lives in this life already, and I have been saved for this moment in time. And he saved me. And some of the songs, especially that were on this morning, about being on the sea and being in terror, or made for more. I think the music really spoke to me today. Not that your sermon wasn't.
No,
I'm not going to grade it today. But
music was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
It was great.
Yeah.
We're naturally inclined to turn back to our sinful selves. And so I think that Jesus is constantly putting things in front of us that bring us back to that. I'm going back to the compassion because I'm still stuck with that in my head. But he constantly brings things to us that challenge us to be more like him and be his hands and feet in this world. And in doing that, I mean, to break our hearts to what breaks is. I could sing a lot of different songs here. I have a bunch of them.
There's
in
some
mind right
lyrics
now,
coming.
but
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, and I think at the end of the day, when you stop and think about all you're grateful for in that day, or maybe all the ways God provided safety or security for you, we're aware of so little of what's actually happening around us, and all the hundreds of things that Jesus might have done for us in that day that we're not aware of. But we just have this trust and safety knowing he's always looking out, trying to save us from ourselves or from other things. It's pretty amazing to think about.
Yeah. What is he saving us to? I'm always, again, you guys know I'm a word nerd. So, the word salvation comes from the Latin salva. And salva just means well-being. That's all it means. That's where you get the word salutation.
Oh, okay.
Right? So you offer well-being to the person. So when I think about Jesus saving us, it's not just from hell.
Correct.
It's to be well, right? And so he's constantly doing that in my life.
Absolutely.
So,
I thought it was a whole legion of angels that were looking out for me.
Them too.
I got a squad.
I'm sure, John. I'm sure they've used up a few angels on you.
That's terrible.
That is terrible, Michelle.
Oh, credit X for that. Do you want to
geez.
reword that?
Yeah, no way, man. I love it.
John, we
poor
love you.
John.
We love you.
John.
Okay, all right. We had one question submitted. We'll end with that today. Does
do you have
anybody
that
have
pulled
that
up?
on you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, I was going to say I
Real
have my
quick
phone.
here.
Pulled up.
Sorry.
It came from last week's sermon on the feeding of the 5,000. And the question was, what were the disciples doing? Were they his loudspeaker system staged throughout the audience and repeating what he was saying so the word would carry through the crowd?
Yep.
And I thought not, in that, for example, with the Sermon on the Mount, he's got his back to the sea, which I assume he did here, and he's talking up the hill, which we talk about the hills around the Sea of Galilee, and so it's a natural amphitheater is my guess.
Well, my thought, the disciples were probably hanging to every word he said, just like everybody else, right?
Yeah.
They were wanting to hear it, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, if you watch The Chosen, I don't know what season it is, what episode it is, but Jesus is doing the Sermon on the Mount, and the disciples are repeating it. So I think, that might be where the question is coming from a little bit. Certainly could have done that, but I agree with you both that there are natural amphitheaters.
Well, that Sermon on the Mount, the side of the sea right there by the Sea of Galilee,
Correct.
is a natural amphitheater that he could have spoken to the people there.
Right.
Well, and let's not forget he's Jesus, so
Right,
he could
so
make
he-
his voice loud enough for everybody.
Yeah.
He didn't need a
It's
mic.
true. And you can pack in people very densely. And I think, again, we often see videos or have in our mind people scattered for long distances. Our sanctuary holds 650. You can put that, and that's, 5,000. That's pretty. I could fit them all in this building.
Sure.
And in a natural amphitheater setting, that wouldn't be very difficult to speak to.
And like the amphitheater at Turkey, Ephesus. Thank you,
Ephesus,
Michelle.
yeah.
Seated
Yeah.
15,000,
It's
and people
incredible,
just
isn't
talked.
it?
Yeah,
Oh,
people
yes.
just talked on the stage.
It just talk,
Yes, I
they can hear
remember
it.
hearing
Yeah,
that. That
it's
was
crazy.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Because I was sitting at the top.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I
So-
could hear him down at the bottom.
Who knows? But I don't know. They
I didn't climb to the
They
top.
certainly weren't
Michelle.
thinking about how do we feed these people. That's
Yeah,
that's what
true.
they weren't doing.
True. When we see him in heaven someday, we can ask him.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, thanks for joining us today as we continue to get to know Jesus a little bit more. If you have any questions, feel free to send them in. Make sure you like and subscribe. And always, as well, as we're leading up to the Red Letter Challenge, if you have any questions about that, feel free to email any of us because we're really excited about that.
For sure. It's
That
going to be
coming
awesome.
up. So have a great week as you connect faith and life.